This happened many years ago. I honestly don't even remember exactly when the freak it was, but it was back when I was driving trucks full-time for this blue truck company I worked for. I was doing mostly interstate deliveries, just trying to get paid and keep my head down. This particular run was a long-ass one, North Dakota to Montana. I want to say it was at least 10 hours behind the wheel that night, and I was already fried. I don't know if you've ever driven a semi for that long without stopping, but it wears on you, especially when you're rolling through miles and miles of nothing. I remember I was trying to keep myself awake by shoving granola bars in my mouth. I think I ate 6 of those damn things in 2 hours. I didn't want to stop anywhere. My plan was to push through, drop the load at the receiver first thing in the morning, and then finally eat something real and crash. So I'm driving through this secluded stretch of Montana highway. It's one of those dead quiet areas where the only thing around you is trees and the occasional mile marker sign. No gas stations, no towns, just dark. I was probably going 70 when I noticed something in the corner of my eye, way up ahead. It was a guy. At first I thought I was seeing shit because I was tired, but no, it was definitely a person walking on the shoulder of the road. He was maybe 50 yards away when I first spotted him. As I got closer, I slowed the truck a little bit because I didn't want to blow past him and maybe cause some kind of accident if he stumbled into the road. That's when I realized 2 things that made me feel weird. 1, he was barefoot, and 2, he looked absolutely drained. Like not just tired, he looked empty, shoulders slumped, walking like he didn't know where he was going. He was wearing a dark jacket and jeans, hands in his pockets, head hanging low. I got a look at his face as I rolled by, and man, he looked pale as hell, wasted, sick even. I thought maybe he was just some drunk guy who wandered away from a bar and ended up out here. But it didn't make sense. There were no bars, no houses, nothing. I drove past him and, for a second, I thought about stopping, but the idea of pulling over on a pitch-black road in the middle of nowhere didn't sit right with me. Plus, as bad as it sounds, you never know who you're dealing with out there. Instead, I grabbed the CB radio and asked if any other truckers in the area had seen the guy. Nobody responded, so I figured maybe I was the only one nearby. Not even 2 minutes later, 2 trucks came up in the opposite lane. Both of them blinked their lights at me. If you've driven trucks long enough, you know that's a signal. Usually it means slow down because something's going on up ahead. I tapped the brakes and brought the rig down to a safer speed, which, for anyone who's never driven a semi, is not as easy as it sounds. Slowing one of those things down takes time, as if solving a freaking Rubik's Cube. And sure enough, maybe a mile later, I came up on a wreck. It was bad. A Ford pickup had gone off the road and hit a tree. Hard. The front end was crushed, and there was debris scattered everywhere. There were already 2 cars pulled over, so I figured people had called the cops. But the thing that messed me up the most? The driver. He was lying on the ground near the truck, definitely gone. I could tell even from where I was sitting. One of the other passengers was still halfway hanging out the passenger window, clearly gone too. And the driver? He was wearing the same exact clothes as the guy I saw walking on the side of the road. Same dark jacket, same jeans. It didn't even register at first. I was just sitting there in the cab staring at the scene. But when it hit me, I got this cold feeling all through my chest. I'm not even kidding, it was like my whole body locked up, because there was no way the guy I saw walking could have gotten down here ahead of me. And he damn sure couldn't have gone in this wreck because I just passed him a mile back walking in an opposite direction. I don't care how religious you are or aren't. In that moment, I was convinced I had seen a ghost. I didn't stop. There were already people on scene, and selfishly, I just didn't want to be involved. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely keep the truck straight, but I forced myself to keep driving. I stayed wide awake for the rest of that haul. No music or radios, just dead silence and the sound of the tires on the road. I didn't even blink. Every time I looked in my mirrors, I half expected to see someone in the sleeper cab behind me. When I finally reached the drop-off point in the morning, I parked the truck and just sat there for a minute trying to process what happened. I even asked one of the other drivers if he'd heard anything about a wreck on the scanner, and he nodded like, yeah, 2 fatalities out on highway whatever it was. It messed me up for weeks. I had trouble sleeping because every time I closed my eyes, I saw that guy's face again. Pale, empty, walking barefoot down the road like he had nowhere to go. I'm not saying 100% that it was a ghost, but it's hard to explain what I saw any other way. Felt wrong, like I wasn't supposed to see it. And to this day, every time I'm driving through an empty stretch of road at night, I think about that guy, and I pray to God that he was with him now and I never see him again. This happened back in 2009. I've been a trucker since I was 20, and even now this is still the scariest thing that's ever happened to me on the road. I was about to do a delivery from Albuquerque up to Utah. It was a solid 12-hour drive, and I had to pick up a damn tractor first thing the next morning. That day, I'd already finished another delivery, so by the time I dropped that load, I was already fried. Luckily, it was a drop trailer delivery, so I just left the trailer at the customer's yard, signed off the paperwork, and took off. Now I had an 8-hour break before I had to pick up the tractor, so I decided to park somewhere quiet and get some rest. I went to this truck stop I knew wasn't usually busy at night, parked the semi in the back corner, closed all the curtains tight, and got comfortable. My plan was to eat a quick snack and pass out. By the time I laid down, it was close to midnight. I was dead tired and fell asleep almost instantly. Around 1 in the morning, I woke up to some noises outside. Footsteps, slow and heavy, kind of dragging. Then this scratching sound, like something being pulled along the pavement. I just laid there listening. Out on the road, you hear weird shit all the time. Could have been another driver, could have been some stray dog nosing around. I was too tired to care, so I ignored it and went back to sleep. A couple hours later, I woke up again. This time it wasn't footsteps. It was popping sounds. 7 of them, right outside my damn truck. I shot awake so fast my heart was pounding. First thought was gunshots, but I was so groggy I couldn't be sure. Could have been fireworks or tires blowing out or whatever. I froze, just listening. Nothing. No voices. No cars starting. Just dead silence. It took me 10 minutes to even work up the nerve to peek out the window. There was a gray SUV parked maybe 30 feet from my semi. The headlights were off. Engine off. Nobody outside. Just sitting there like nothing had happened. That's when I noticed a tanker was parked a couple spaces away from me too. I always hate parking near tankers. Makes me nervous. Those things can blow sky high if something goes wrong. And now I'm thinking, what if those pops were gunshots and they hit the tanker? Thank God they didn't. Or at least I hope to hell that thing was empty, because if it wasn't, I might not even be telling this story. But I didn't see anyone. No movement. I told myself maybe it wasn't gunshots after all, just to calm down. I laid back down, but I couldn't sleep right. Every little sound outside had me holding my breath. I thought about moving the truck somewhere else, but I was too tired, and I didn't want to draw attention to myself. A couple hours later, the sun was starting to rise, and the first thing I noticed was flashing lights outside. Not sirens, just flashing. I stepped out of the cab and immediately saw 2 police cars parked near the SUV. Officers were walking around, putting up tape, talking in low voices. The tanker was still parked there, untouched. Nobody around it. I remember thinking again how lucky it was those bullets didn't hit it. I asked one of the other drivers nearby what happened, and he said someone had been shot in the SUV. 7 rounds fired right there in the parking lot, and the shooter was long gone. 1 fatality, he said. The passenger, he thought, survived somehow but was in bad shape. I just stood there in shock. Those pops I'd heard at 3 in the morning? That was the shooting, and I was right there the whole time, 30 feet away. I don't know if it was a robbery gone wrong or some personal beef, but the cops said it looked like whoever pulled the trigger was pissed. They lit that car up. I didn't see a single thing. If I'd peeked out the curtain 10 minutes earlier, maybe I would have. Or maybe they would have seen me and decided to take me out too. That thought alone was enough to make my stomach drop. I answered the cops' questions, gave them my name, told them about the popping sounds I heard, but that was all I had. I didn't see anything useful, and they let me go. I picked up my load and got out of there as fast as I could. Even now, all these years later, I think about that night. I still remember the way that SUV looked when I peeked out the window. Just sitting there in the dark, like nothing was wrong, when inside was a whole different story. And I remember the tanker. I keep thinking, what if those bullets had hit it? It makes me feel sick because I wouldn't have even had a chance. That night changed how I park, how I sleep, how I listen to sounds outside the truck. I used to feel safe behind those curtains. Not anymore. Now, I double-check my locks and I listen to every little thing, because I know what real gunshots sound like now, and I never want to hear them that close again.